You hear stories about people who, they're not comfortable with less than 100,000 in their checking account. And I'm just like, what?
I want those problems.
Right.
I need those problems right
Make
now.
me uncomfortable over 100,000. But so you hear about stuff like that, and you're like, okay, are these real people? And
Yeah,
then
I
you
know,
start
right?
actually getting into communities where you engage with people, and these are the things that they do, and it just starts to open your eyes and say, I can be different. There are people that do this, so I can possibly do it too.
Steady my heart, quiet my soul. Trust in the one who loves your soul. Steady my heart, quiet my soul. Trust in his word and never let go. He loves you so. Steady my heart, quiet my soul. Take every promise and hold on. He loves you so. He loves you so. And who's the one who quiets the storm that rages? And who's the one who's faithful to his name, to his name? And who's the one who eases your aching soul? He loves you so. He loves you so. Who's the one who quiets the storm that rages? Who's the one who's faithful to his name, to his name? And who's the one who eases your aching soul? He loves you so. He loves you so. And he's the one who quiets the storm that rages. And he's the one who is faithful to his name, yeah, to his name. And he's the one who eases your aching soul. He loves you so. He loves you so. He loves you so. He loves you so. He loves you so.
Welcome back. This is One Honest Nation TV. I'm your host, Devin Willer. And up next, we have Martin Booker, University of Connecticut graduate, doing nonprofit work in Washington, D.C. Martin Booker is bent on helping people through education and conversation, using humor and practical advice. He engages people of all walks of life to understand how to maintain and build wealth. Welcome my next guest, Martin Booker. All right.
What's going on,
No
brother?
problem. Thanks for coming.
Oh, of course. Glad to
down.
be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, one of the things that I've always heard about people with money is good credit, bad credit, no credit, right?
Yeah.
So how do we kind of navigate these hurdles? Like, what is the first steps or techniques to kind of becoming financially savvy?
Financially savvy. All right. So when it comes to credit, so one thing I always tell people, you want to have good credit, but don't rely on it to live your life.
Okay.
So, when it comes to debt, if debt is a part of how you live, then that's a dangerous lifestyle, right? So if I'm up to my neck in debt and the only way that I can cover my bills next month is to take out more debt to cover my expenses, then I'm in a position where I'm going to continue to have to dig myself out, and I'm going to continue to have to take out more debt to live. That comes with high interest rates, and that is a dangerous situation when you want to be financially savvy. So, with credit, make sure it's good, but don't rely on it to live your life. You can't rely on debt to be a part of your lifestyle.
Understandable. Is it possible to avoid all creditors altogether?
All right, let's start with the creditors that you already have.
Okay.
Pay them, and they'll never call you again. So that's the first step.
Got
If
you.
pay them, you'll never hear from them again. You want them to stop calling, pay your bills. But if you don't currently have debt, one way to avoid it is to just use cash. Anything that you can buy on credit, you could possibly use cash to buy if you save up enough.
Let me ask you this. So seeing that these things are not necessarily readily available information, and people like you, advocates, have to bring it to the people, what do you wish that your clients would know more about when they come to you?
I'd say, so if there's 3 areas that I wish people, that I'd always promote and wish that people knew, to start when it comes to credit, one would be credit repair.
Okay.
So I always tell you, you can do credit repair free of charge yourself online. You go to all 3 credit bureau websites, you can check your credit report, you can dispute anything that shouldn't be on your credit report, you can challenge things on your own. So anything that a credit repair company is charging you to do, you can do it for free. That's one thing. Another thing that I want people to realize is the best way to use credit cards. If I got a credit card, the best thing that I could possibly do is have it at a 0 balance every month when I pay my bill. Because if I have a credit card and I pay the bill every month in full, I don't pay any interest with that on that credit card. So I could literally use a credit card to build my credit every month, stay debt free if I'm continuing to use a credit card and pay it off every month, and pay $0 in interest to a credit card company while building my credit. And then I'd say the last thing, one thing that I push, and this is one that a lot of people like to fight on, is with life insurance. When it comes to life insurance, that's not a strategy to actually build wealth. And when you're talking to a life insurance salesman and he's telling you that, he's talking to you about percentages and building wealth through your life insurance policy is there to protect your wealth. It's there to protect your wealth and to pass on a part of a legacy if you were to pass away early, for those who you take care of. But it's not a part of your strategy to build wealth. And that's 3 things that I wish people would know more about. There's a lot more, but I keep it at 3 for now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So a lot of us don't like the word save. It's not sexy, it's responsible. What would you say for younger viewers who may not be able to buy a house right now, some tips they could use?
Okay. I say one word that's worse than save. You don't like save, but I'll tell you another word you don't like is broke. Nobody want to be broke, right?
Hey.
If you don't want to be broke, you better start saving something. But I know, it is one of those things I always tell. So there's a couple things that I always tell people when it comes to saving, because it's not fun, right? It's like diet, and clearly, it ain't my favorite word. I'll tell you that. But when it comes to things like that, so you gotta take those smaller steps, right? So when it comes to saving, I always tell people, make it like a bill in your budget, right? So when you get paid, you got this line of things you gotta pay. You gotta pay Comcast. You gotta pay AT&T. You're gonna drive, different companies that you gotta pay to every month. Add your savings in there just like that. So all right, when I pay 140 to that, when I pay 300 to that, I'm also paying 100 to myself. And they always say pay yourself first. That's the most critical part of one of the most critical parts of money management is making sure that you take care of you, because you're going to be there when all of those other companies are gone. Think about how many cell phone companies you may have had in your life.
That's true.
The number of cars that you may have had over time. The only thing that's still there is you. And if you haven't been paying yourself, you done gave money to all of those companies that you no longer use, and left nothing for yourself. The other thing is, the younger you are, the better. Time is the biggest thing that you can have when it comes to saving money. Because when I start to save consistently, over time, I start to invest that money. And the more time I have, the more I can allow that money to grow and build for me. So I know, we don't like it, but, find ways to do it, and find ways to do it and almost hide it from yourself. I'll tell you, because I don't like saving.
Okay.
So I do a lot of things. Like I'll have ways where I save money where the money's coming out on payday. So before I even look at my paycheck, the money has already gone into savings accounts. So what's sitting in my bank account is what I have to pay for the necessities or some of the amenities that I'm gonna partake in over time. Until I get paid again. But my savings had already come out of that account before I even saw it. So you got to find those ways to almost hide money from yourself and make savings easier.
In the place where I have no safety net, I'm bracing the wind, standing in the storm, with my arms wide open but my quivering soul. Is my heart so sure, even when my mind says no? Behind me, I feel a force so sweet. Before me, a gentle tug come near. Around me, the warm embrace I seek. You're beckoning me. Get lost in me. I'm all you need. Come into me. Fear has lost its grip. 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 I can see it now, it's all so clear. When I'm bracing the wind and standing in the storm, with my arms wide open but my quivering soul, I'm stepping out, even when my mind says no. Behind me, I feel a force so sweet. Before me, a gentle tug on near. Around me, the warm embrace I seek. You're beckoning me. Get lost in me. I'm all you need. Come into me. caution to the wind. No more hesitation here. You're beckoning me, beckoning me, beckoning me. Fear has lost its grip. Oh, you say, you say, you say, you say, fear lost in me. Fear has lost its grip. Then I'm all you need. Yeah, I roll you need. Fear has lost its grip. You're beckoning me. Oh, 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 you're beckoning me. Oh, oh.
Now I know people want to ask you, how did you become so knowledgeable? How did you obtain your knowledge base?
Yep. So for me, I'll be honest. Like starting off, I mean, this wasn't something that I learned growing up, right?
Okay.
So you grow up, you start to make some mistakes. You get that first job, you spend every dollar of that paycheck, right? I'd say when I was about 18, 19 years old, I would hear people talking about investing. I wanted to know more about it, so I started to go on this website called is Investopedia.com. And it was just a site where it's kind of like an encyclopedia. You look through it, you're learning investment terms, you're getting to do little mock investments just to kind of get a sense of how investing works. And it was just a real cool website, like to teach me some things beyond what I knew. And that's where I started. It was like I was interested, so I started to research and started to learn. And while doing that, I got better at it, and then I started buying a couple stocks every now and then in my teens, and made some mistakes with those, but it was a part of a learning process, and it's something that I just continued to study, and then eventually I got better at it. But Investopedia is probably the first place I started, and then there's a lot of other websites and blogs that I read just to learn more about personal finance. Now I'm finishing school to get my certification in financial planning and just continuing to build up and educate myself even more on finance.
Not a bad hobby to have.
I know, right?
Not a bad hobby to have at all. So, I know sometimes people think that owning a house is like a magical cure-all. Like Mama always says, get the government job, then buy the house. What's your thoughts on that?
Get that house, white picket fence.
Yes.
Possibly a dog, but dogs get expensive. I just want people to know that. So I'll tell you. Buying a house, that's not the magical cure-all. Okay. So having a house it's an amazing thing to do. I'm an advocate for purchasing. I tell people all the time, if you can save up and purchase, what people don't realize is a lot of times you can purchase and get a mortgage that's cheaper than what you pay in your rent every month. A lot of people pay rent that's a lot more expensive than what they would pay if they were to save up, kind of get the credit in order, save up, buy a house. But buying a house isn't the magical cure-all. Houses come with responsibility. It come with repairs. Markets go up and down depending on where you buy. You just never know what can happen. There's two things that I want everybody to know when they're about to buy a house or when they're considering buying a house. These are two things that I always tell people. One, what you're pre-approved for. When they pre-approve you for your loan, you don't have to spend that full amount. Because there's one thing, when you get pre-approved for a loan, they don't factor in a couple of things. They don't factor in your dreams first.
Wow.
So when we talk about, how, what you want to do for a living, right? The entrepreneurial endeavors you want to pursue. When they want to talk about, you want to be debt free by 30 and retire by 40. You want to, be on this early retirement kick. When you got pre-approved for that loan, they didn't factor those things in. They didn't even know those things. So I always tell people, you get pre-approved for $300,000, you might look for houses that are $250,000, $200,000, because when you get pre-approved, that's not what you have to spend. That's the max that you can spend. The second thing I always tell people is to buy your first house like it's going to be your second house one day, because you're buying that property, and of course you're excited, right? You just made a huge accomplishment in your life. You just bought something that you've never been able to buy before. You've just taken this step towards, building and buying an asset that maybe you're the first in your family to ever do it. But you don't want to buy that as if it's the only one you're ever going to have. At some point, you may be renting that property out. At some point, you want to sell it for more than you bought it for. So you want to look at it as it's a part of a business, right? This is an asset that at some point you're going to sell or you're going to rent out. So you want to look around, buying in metro stations, buying in areas that are up and coming. buying in areas where you can get it extremely low, and then the value is going to rise. Those things matter. So I always tell people, buy your first house like it's going to be your second someday.
Okay. Good points. Good points. I'm actually going to take some of this advice for myself.
There you go.
You have a lot of knowledge that you've been sharing with us. When was the point where you were like, I need to make a change? Because I'm sure, these habits are new to people, so I'm sure at the time they were new to you.
There was always this desire to have more, So I always, I would go to school and people would tell me, oh, that profession, they don't make a lot of money. And I'm thinking, well, I'll make money outside the profession. There's other ways to make money. There's real estate, there's investments, there's things that you can do. But I'll say one of the big things for me, it was exposure. I started to see communities that were saving money at rates that I've never seen before. They were talking about paying off houses, in 5 years, stuff like, wow. You get a 30-year mortgage, you're thinking, all right, I got this for 30 years. And that's what I've always seen, right? But then I'm in these communities and they're saying, well, yeah, I'm taking my extra money and I'm paying my house off in 5 years, and we bought cars cash, we didn't take out a car loan at all. Or we have, you hear stories about people who, they're not comfortable with less than $100,000 in their checking account. And I'm just like, what?
I want those problems.
Right.
I need those problems right now.
Make me uncomfortable over $100,000. But so you hear about stuff like that, and you're like, okay, are these real people? And then you start actually getting into communities where you engage with people, and these are the things that they do, and it just starts to open your eyes and say, I can be different. There are people that do this, so I can possibly do it too. For me, and then you go and look at those communities, and then you check your email, and you got a notice that says your balance just fell below $25, and you're like, golly, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this life. So you start to just want to see. You start to see different, and then you start to do some different things. And you say that what I've been exposed to is so much different than what I'm currently doing. So I have to start to make some changes to be better at this.
Makes sense. All right, now when you talk about communities, I wanted to bring up something that was kind of pivotal, I guess, in a pivotal moment in Black history. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yeah. So for me, when you think about something like Black Wall Street, one of the first things I think about is the fact that we've been exposed to an example like that. We know that it happened, so we know that we can recreate it, right? Like it's a beautiful thing to be able to see something like that, and not we didn't get to physically experience or get to see it, but we get to hear about it and know that it was a part of our history. So when you know that something like that has happened before, then you know that it's possible that it can happen again. At least the creating it, but you also know that how it was taken from us. Mm-hmm. So then you know what you also have to do to make sure that doesn't happen again, right? So you start to think, we can't just have financial power, we have to have political power, because we have to know that we have people in place who could prevent something like that from happening. So it was definitely a tragic time. The way it ended was tragic. Yeah. But I'm happy that it was built and that we flourished at that level, and we get to read about it and know more about it, because now we can recreate it and we can make it happen again.
We could definitely make it happen again, and yeah. I think it is an inspiration to a lot of people. Definitely. With unfortunate circumstances. Let's switch gears a little bit. Okay. You want to play a game?
Sure.
All right, great. So I want you to give these celebrities some quick financial advice. Okay. First up, LeBron James.
Oh. Some financial advice for LeBron James. All right, so for LeBron James, man, I would tell that guy, man, keep at it, man. Keep at it, and honestly, teach us something. Like, I think one of the most critical things you can do is sometimes to share the knowledge while you're doing it. Okay. And I think he'd be a perfect example of showing us how to create wealth with your boys. Like, the way that he kind of built his empire. That's amazing, and he did it with his friends that surround him, man. So I'd say keep it up, but write up that blueprint. Start to share that example, especially for these young guys that are coming into the league. Show them what to do, because I know I think about it. I'm like, man, how could I get my boys to be, put them in those positions and know that we're creating wealth together, and they got my back if I'm building to be this global brand.
Makes sense. Let's say Nicki Minaj. Any advice for Nicki Minaj?
Nicki Minaj, she's born and raised in New York, right?
New York.
I tell her first. I mean, New York, born and raised. I mean, buy up as much as New York as you possibly can. Try to find some of those parts of New York that still are untapped. Maybe what's that, Brownsville or something. Like buy it up, buy up as much as you can, and do what you can to own some of that city. You know, and keep. Well, I tell you this. I tell her, make sure you saving well, because Cardi B coming for you. She coming for you. She on your heels now. So make sure you saving something, because you might have to switch careers. Nah, she good. I think she'll be fine.
All right, let's, what about Monique?
Monique, my loves. All right, I tell Monique, take what you've already built, create your own platforms, just go hard, set up your own lane, you know, do some specials, build your buzz, and then go back and triple charge. You know, go back to anybody, Netflix, Hulu, whoever it is, and now you do what Jay-Z said. We're gonna overcharge them for what they did to the Cold Crush. You know, so in them situations, create your own buzz. Don't get bitter. This is when you get better. You prove that you were worth what you asked for, and then when they say, you know what, Monique, you were worth that, double it.
Lastly, Colin Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick, that's my guy. I tell him, well, first we need to take advantage of these Afro pick and these knee pad endorsements. He needs to go ahead and set up something like the Colin Kaepernick knee pad or something. You figure something out playing. But no, for Colin Kaepernick, I mean, so after what he did and taking a stand like that, for anyone that for anyone in life, man, I think one of the most important things you can do is make sure that you're taking advantage of saving and investing the money that you're making. That's why you don't spend all of what you make, because when it's time to take a stand, you want to be able to take that stand and understand that you're not about to lose all of what you have in order to do so. He was able to stand up for what he believed in and not think, if I don't get a paycheck tomorrow, I'm not able to do this. I'm sure that there were hundreds of other players that wish they would have did exactly what he did, but because of their mortgages, because of the debt that they owe, and because of the cars that they drive, or any other expenses that you've allowed to take up most of your paycheck, they couldn't take the stand that they wanted to take. So one, I commend him for what he did, and I would tell everybody, if you're going to be able to take a stand at your job or in any place, or be able to say what you want and not fear that that your resources are going to run out, save money, invest money. And for someone like Kaepernick, now he's a marked man. It'll be hard for him to get another job in NFL. There's probably certain fields that won't take him in because he's so controversial. But if he's been saving and investing as he made those checks, he's in a position where he can sustain his lifestyle or just lower his lifestyle, right? So if I cut out my expenses, then I can still do that and be able to live a comfortable life. But I'm able to take a stand or make a statement without fearing that my money's going to run out.
Makes sense.
So I appreciate what he did. I hope he was saving up, but Kaepernick, call me if you want to get that Afro pick line going.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I can budget out your money at Kaepernick. Yeah, but yeah, so.
That's
Kaepernick.
Martin Booker, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. No problem.
No more distractions from troubles of this world. This seed will not be choked out by it. This seed will find life in good soil. No more distractions from troubles of this world. This seed.
More Yah at onehonestnation.com.
One Honest Nation with Devin Wheeler was produced with the services and facilities of Arlington Independent Media.